Hello everyone, welcome to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. This is your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society. We are here in the worldwide headquarters of the Society, whose mission is to make connections through music with the intention of bringing peace. Today in the studios, I am very happy to welcome a good friend now and wonderful guy traveling around the world, Michael Roudebush.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about this talk because you are up with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And traveling around the world and doing good things. And we had a great week in D.C., and learned a lot about Up With People and have enjoyed being with you and would like to talk a little bit about Up With People and, the role of music in your life and other stuff that we may get to. So for all those out there in podcast land, perhaps you could just explain a little bit about, Up With People, what it is, what you've been doing, what your role is, and that sort of thing. But I mean, what's up with People?
Yeah, totally. I can totally talk more about that. First of all, I'm excited to be here. It's been a great week, as you mentioned. I'm part of an organization that has been around for 53 years now. So it's been interesting to learn the history of it. And I currently work for the organization. We are an international youth nonprofit organization. So Up With People was born in 1965, kind of at a time where there was a lot going on in this nation.
Ooh, Vietnam War. Ooh.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of youth was very turbulent during those times. There was a lot going on. The Vietnam War was one of them. The Civil Rights Movement was another. Just a lot of young people across the country that were very much into shouting down for this and down for that, down with the current institutions, down with what's going on right now. And this young gentleman named Blanton Belk was part of a youth conference in Michigan, where a lot of young people came together over a weekend, multiple weekends actually, to discuss, what was going on in the world. And he found that music was a great way to share how this youth was feeling. And that's kind of how the movement was born. And so Up With People was born out of that. And the mission today of Up With People is to inspire young people to make a difference. So to make a difference in their community worldwide. And the way we do it at Up With People is through music and service. So we'll take a group of 100 individuals, 100 young people from, I think, 15 to 20 different countries on a 6-month journey. So it's a journey of 6 months that they do together. And these young people are about aged, I would say, 18 to 25, 26 years old. We go all the way up to 29 years old, actually. So just young people that want to make a difference, love traveling, and are passionate about music. And so right now I'm in the middle of a semester with one of these groups. Our cast is called Cast B 2017. Cast A was in the spring, and now that we're in the fall, Cast B 2017, and we've been on tour for a couple months now, and we spent the last week in Washington, D.C., and it's been really great working with the local community, including Planetary Gig Society. We had such a great time here. So yeah, that's kind of the background of Up With People. Essentially, we're using young people to inspire other young people to make a difference wherever we go.
Yeah, well, it's amazing because, and I was talking with some other folks about this recently. We kind of remember Up With People from the 60s. I sort of have this vision of it being sort of a folk group of folky people singing Kumbaya songs. But
Yeah.
and I never really saw the show, but when I did see the show, I was blown away by the enthusiasm, the sort of the teamwork, the diligence. Obviously, it takes a lot of work to put that on, and many in some ways, wow, the message of peace and working together and non-discrimination and all those things is really, really particularly timely today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it started, as you mentioned, very much as a grassroots movement. So the way it started was so grassroots. It's like the essence of, you know what, we were at this very awesome conference in Michigan. We used music to communicate how we were feeling. Let's not let it die down now. Let's take it on tour. Let's see what we can do. Let's go and we have a contact here that'll let us play at their in their venue. Oh, and then we have a contact here. We're going from Michigan to Illinois. It'll be okay. We can do that. And it started as this very grassroots movement. And then our founder, Blanton Belk, incorporated the movement he was creating into a nonprofit. So we became an official nonprofit in 1968. And then from there on, it became a little more structured, kind of as today people take gap years, out of high school or between years in college or after college. It turned into some sort of semester abroad gap year program that young people can take a part in. And yeah, it was a great way for young people to travel the world and be around other youth from literally 20 different countries on multiple continents around the world. And so that's kind of the idea. It started grassroots, and then now we consider ourselves a gap year program. And as you mentioned, everywhere we go, we'll take these young people on a 6-month journey, and each week we'll change communities, and we'll try to visit, multiple cities across the U.S., Mexico, Europe. We've been to Asia before, trying to get involved in the community while we're there. And then, as you mentioned, performing our show, because that's how we can communicate the message we're trying to get across, which is, look at us. There's 100 of us from 15 to 20 different countries on stage. We're trying to make it work because that's what the world needs. And it's a fun show, too. I mean, you've been to it.
Oh, yeah, it's really powerful.
Yeah, there's a lot of entertainment in it. We'll have songs and medleys from around the world, pop medleys that everyone can, sing and dance to, that they'll recognize from growing up. We'll have medleys from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and then the 90s and 2000s millennials medley, again with pop songs that everyone knows. And then sprinkled into that are original Up With People music, original Up With People songs that, touch on themes that we find important to, share with our audience. So themes like equality and unity and diversity, and the environment, things like that we think we're using music to transmit these themes that we find ourselves passionate about.
Yeah, it's really powerful. So, and the reason that we're here talking, in a way, is through one of the founders of the Planetary Gig Society, Tara Gorman, who was a cast member in, I don't remember what year.
Yeah, it was back in the 80s.
But she's very passionate about Up With People and has been sort of coordinating a lot of things going on this week. I mean, when you see there's all these host families who the cast members are staying with.
Yeah.
There's a big community movement. It's just really, it's fabulous. And Tara is the goddess of awesomeness. There's no question about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to, getting things done. Well, tell me a little bit about your role, because you're in Brussels.
Yeah.
Right. And you have a sort of European focus for some of the things that you're doing. You're into admissions, I guess.
Yeah. So the group of 100 travels, and there is an overseeing staff of about 15 staff members who are. It's funny because we're just a little older than the cast is, really. So that makes things interesting. But it's we're in charge of kind of coordinating the tour. So making sure that everything runs smoothly, constantly in contact with our headquarters in Denver, Colorado, So Up With People's headquarters are in Denver, and yeah, so I have a technical role and then an overseeing coordinator role, just as a coach, as a leader, and as a mentor to these young people that want to make a difference, and we're trying to give them a voice through our program and through their travels. So I'm an admissions representative as well. So my role technically is to go and talk about the program and offer this as an option out of high school or in college or out of college for young participants that would want to travel the world, make a difference, and act through music.
Yeah, it's really fabulous. I mean, when you realize that there's something like 22,000 Up With People alumni around the world,
Absolutely.
I mean, that's quite a network of people. We're Planetary Gig Society is very pleased and happy to have been a sponsor here in DC, and hopefully will continue being able to work with you all and do good things for society through music. Let me ask a couple of personal things. So you were born in the States, is that right? Where were you born?
I was actually born in Belgium.
You were born in Belgium.
My dad is from Arizona. So my mom is from Brussels, Belgium. My dad is from a small town called Safford, Arizona. But I grew up with my siblings. We all grew up. My parents moved to Brussels before we were born, and we grew up in Brussels all the way through high school. But going over to Arizona to see family every summer and growing up in an American
Arizona's
household.
in the summer, man. That's pretty toasty.
Tell me about it. Yeah, the pool was our best friend. I'm telling you, it was awesome. But we were kids. We didn't know any better. We loved it. See the cousins. So it was interesting growing up in an American household abroad. Grew up speaking English at home with both my parents, and then going to school in French, which is one of the two languages in Brussels. But yeah, a great youth growing up.
Was there a lot of music in your house? Was there not? Were your parents musical? Did they play music? Did they have records on all the time? Or how did, and then when did you start participating in music? Did you take lessons? How long? What instruments? And then what led you to Up With People?
Yeah, totally. So there has been a lot of music in my life, for sure. Interestingly enough, the reason my parents met is because they were both participants in the program in the 1980s, actually
in Up With People?
In Up With People with Tara.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so they met while traveling and volunteering abroad with Up With People, and got married a couple years later, and worked for the company for a bit in their European offices. So I've always grown up with Up With People around. We were a host family when the cast would come to town for a week on one of their tours. So it always was something in the background, and my dad was in the band of Up With in the
played
shows.
Guitar? Or what?
He was a trombone player.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was interesting. And there's a lot of musical background, and my siblings and I all grew up playing music. We started with keyboard and guitar, so synthesizer.
Like how old?
I was probably 7 when I started.
7.
Yeah, 6 or 7 years old. Started playing the synthesizer, which was easier in my mom's mind than learning the actual piano. And then transitioned to learning, piano, and now working a little bit on my guitar skills too. But I was part of the church choir, and so I was a musician growing up and all through until now. I just really think life without music is a mistake. That's a quote that I've heard, and I 100% agree with.
That's a good quote. Did your mom play music too? Was she a singer, dancer?
She was the dancer.
The dancer.
Yeah, and both my sisters are very involved in dancing as well. Great dancers, both of them. And then the 3 of us, I have 2 other brothers, so there's 5 of us. And we're more the musician type, and singing as well, so yeah.
Yeah. So did you take lessons, or lessons plus school? Did you I'm always curious, having, come to music sort of late in life, and mainly I learned through taking lessons and not sometimes so good at figuring stuff out by myself.
Yeah.
Did you take a lot of lessons? Have you noodled around on the piano and learned things? I mean, how did you kind of learn music?
Yeah, totally. At first, lessons for sure. That's how I got, how do you read a chart, a music chart, and, what are the notes and stuff like that. Um, Keys, different chords, things like that, all came with lessons. Where I really got better at just being able to pick up a song and jam to it, find out the key it's in, go up and down the scale, and just, okay, great, I can now figure out the chords to that, was actually playing for my church. So that was a great way for me to be able to kind of jam and figure out if this is the key, these are the chord progressions that are most likely going to be involved in any one song. It's interesting because a lot of pop songs are very similar in their chord progressions, and so once you figure out the key and the go up and down the scale one or twice, you can say, okay, so this is probably what it's going to look like. So that's where my strength lies now more. I can't tell you I can read a music sheet easily anymore. I haven't read one in forever because it's more about jamming,
Improvising, being
improvising.
creative,
Yeah,
playing with people.
exactly. And
Yeah,
they'll be like, "Here's your chord progression. Let's jam and see what happens." And then that's where I love it the most, I would say.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very, getting to the point where, I mean, I know I feel it myself, not just, okay, it's the C and then the, next chord. It's being able to feel like you're just really talking, without a lot of thought.
Totally.
So you've been around music a lot in your life, to say the least, and you were in the cast of Up with People 1 year.
Yeah. So before working for Up with People, I was a participant for a year. So out of high school, actually, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Loved traveling, loved music, and thought, you know what, I kind of want to make a difference somehow. And Up with People was a great way. It's a great launching pad if that's kind of what you're into in order to be empowered to and inspired to make a difference. So I traveled out of high school, and then after my college years came back, and this is kind of my job, my first job out of high school, out of college, so to say.
Yeah, nice job. So you've seen an awful lot of music. You've been involved with music a lot of places. Up with People, I'm sure, is quite just amazing to be around. So do you have thoughts on, have you perceived or witnessed the power of music in things that you've done working with people? Do you have examples or any little stories or long stories to
Yeah,
talk
totally.
about how you've seen music affect people's lives?
Yeah, I think music is so key to building bridges. I think you can go to so many different places that governments can't take you, or even diplomats can't really take you, but music can take you to. You talk to someone in China, or in Bangladesh, or in South Africa, or in Argentina, or in the US, and they'll most likely all know a song that they all sang to when they grew up, or that everyone knows about. It's just a great way of connecting people around the world. And unless you're really like in the very, very small minority, if someone's playing, you'll stop and kind of wonder where that music is coming from. Depending on what the music sounds like, if it's high intensity energy or if it's quieter, the emotion that transmits through music, everyone can feel. And I feel like that's a great way to build those bridges of understanding across cultures. It's just when people say music is a universal language, I truly live by that every day while I'm traveling and Up with People, because we're going to so many different communities, and they all get something from the show that they've been to. and we're trying to transmit that emotion not just through words but through music, because that's a great way to reach the heart and not just the mind. So yeah.
So you obviously you have up with people in your blood, so to speak, but you
Yeah.
must see a lot of people who come in first time they go to the 5 week training course or training session, whatever you call it, and then they go through 6 months.
On tour, yeah.
You know, and some I guess were musicians, maybe some not
A
musicians.
lot of them were not. Yeah, a lot
And
of them were not.
how does that affect them? Do you perceive different effects of this
Yeah, totally.
experience?
The great part of what our show brings, the Up With People show, is it's also an international musical show. So we'll have songs and dances that are culturally that belong to different regions of the world, and to see people connect with those and say, hey, that's, I grew up with that, like that's a song that everyone in my country knows, like it just, and then to see the audience get excited at us, about us actually, caring about that culture because we know this song. They're like, I can't believe you know this song. We're going to Mexico after this, after being in DC, and we have a whole Mexican medley of very popular songs in Mexico. And to see the audience, it's usually the crowd favorite of the show. Oh my God, I loved when you played those songs that it reminded me of my youth, and everyone here knows it. I can't believe you guys know it. And it's just, it gets that connection. Again, we're going back to the connection of people that are from so many different countries, but yet because of that one song that person knows, you feel instantly connected. And we're going back to our host families that evening who've seen the show, and we're staying with them for the week while we're in the community. And they're like, oh man, you got, what an awesome show. And I can't believe you knew this song from, and then it just connects people that way. And so the participants also learn that that's so important for them to be able to connect with the community they're in that week.
Yeah. How about people who, I suppose some some kids don't know what they're going to do exactly. They end up with people somehow. Are there things that you've seen that may transform in their lives, that may put them in a different direction, or, people in your cast who I guess you keep up with still some, and how does it affect the cast members?
Totally. I think in terms of music, in terms of music and also performing that music, performing those songs, projecting to an audience everywhere we go, it's just a great way to learn how to speak or communicate to a large crowd. So it's great for public speaking. It's great for comfort in terms of speaking to a big group, and being able to project and share an emotion, share a thought, share a feeling with people that you don't know at all. So that's, I think, one of the main things that some of our participants gain from being taking this gap year program, being in Up With People for 6 months and traveling, exposing themselves to sometimes challenging situations. They're way out of the comfort zone. Some people have never been on stage before, and to see them flourish into true performers and also just true public, I don't want to say speakers because we use music, but public sharers. They share how they feel and are able to communicate those feelings with audiences that they've never known before, and they've never done that before. It's pretty neat to see.
Yeah, and I suppose just increasing confidence about being a human and being able to put it out there and kind of be rewarded emotionally, intellectually.
Yeah, absolutely. And being inspired that other people think that way too, and other people share those deep feelings of wanting to be connected to other people and not divided among nations, among even locally divided. The unity, the feeling that the need for unity and expressing that, and seeing that other people connect with that message too and say, you know what, yeah, you're right. Like, why are we so divided these days? And God knows we are divided as a nation here in the U.S., but also around the world. So this is a great way. Music is that one vehicle, I think, that will help. And there's other ways too. Conversation, civil discourse are necessary too, but music will be able to break down the initial barrier, I think, just because of the universal aspect of what music brings.
Yeah, I mean that's just amazing. It's what we need. There's so much sort of fear and division, and music can really, break through that. The question I like to ask is, so what more can musicians, people who love music, do to help overcome these fears and divisions, etc.? In some ways, I don't need to ask that question because you already answered it in a way. But I wonder if you have any other thoughts. I mean, there is Up With People. You touch a certain number of people. But, like a pebble in a pond, the ripple that goes out, other things that you've thought about that we could do, or you see, what you wish people who don't know about Up With People could do to kind of give honor to this power of music and use it for the betterment of all people? I don't know. Any sort of final thoughts about that question?
I think continuing to share through music is important. Staying committed to the idea that music can change the world, I think, is key, because there's going to be times where, and it's happened in pop culture so much, the rock and roll years, and then the hip hop rap years. It always gets met with a certain amount of resistance, in a way. People pushing back to these,
that crazy Elvis Presley.
Yeah, exactly.
Those Beatles are nuts.
Who are these people? They're shattering our society, and they're gonna make us into brutes, and we're not even human anymore. And so there's so much of that happening, and it'll still keep happening, because I think music helps push new boundaries, and helps with progress, human progress. And so anything that comes with progress comes with change, and anything that comes with change comes with pushback by people who are happy with the status quo. So keeping music going, keeping on sharing, and maybe sharing different styles of music, or sharing with different people that are not necessarily the ones you'll have a civil conversation with. But how about music? How can music help connect those two people that might otherwise never ever want to talk to each other? I think is key, and I think it can happen at a local level. We don't need to also depend only on those voices of musical celebrities and people who have so much influence. And I think it's their responsibility too to use that platform. But can we do it on a local level? I think so. I think we really can.
Yeah, well, that's what I think. I think I can't say enough about what Up With People is doing. Having really got a deep dive into it in this last week, and seeing the cast members and many devoted alumni who are around, and what can be accomplished. And so, hey, I'm on board with that. And so I really appreciate your taking the time to talk with me about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Given a great explanation of Up With The People, good insight. I hope more folks will appreciate what you're doing, and we'll be able to see one of those shows one day when it comes to their town.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can check upwithpeople.org if they want more information about it. We just had a brand new website.
Nice.
So that's exciting. So there should be all the visuals and fun with trying to communicate that emotion through our website too. So yeah,
upwithpeople.org. Okay, well, it's been a great conversation here with Michael Roudebush, and really appreciate it. And so thanks everyone very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. been listening to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society. We talk with musicians and others about the power of music and how we can use music to help create a better world. Please check out our website, www.planetarygigs.org, for information about some of the organizations promoting music, resources about the power of music, including movies, books, articles, and new research on music and the brain. We do welcome your support. You can donate to the Planetary Gig Society, which is a 501c3 charitable organization, on the website. You can also get a free email signature block demonstrating your support for the Planetary Gig Society. Please also follow us on Facebook, Planetary Gig Society, Twitter, @Planetary Gigs, Instagram, Planetary Gigs, and submit your input, short videos, comments on the power of music in your life. Remember to use the hashtag Planetary Gigs when you do. So we hope you will check out our podcast again soon. Please subscribe if you'd like, and we look forward to more great conversations about the power of music. Planetary Gig Society, making connections through music with the intention of creating peace. That's what we're going to do.